the case of Ukraine and then the Middle East. But what has happened in the just 5-6 hours ago was Netanyahu coming out with a new video talking about Charlie Kirk. And it's so bizarre when you look at the behavior of Netanyahu in the aftermath of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And he tweeted a lot, he talked a lot, he said over and over that Israel wasn't do anything in that direction to, we didn't want to assassinate him. He was one of the best supporters of Israel. And here is what he said just hours ago.
Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, said that the bigger the lie, the faster it will spread. Well, somebody has fabricated a monstrous big lie that Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's horrific murder. This is insane. It is false. It is outrageous. Charlie Kirk was a giant, a once-in-a-century talent who defended freedom, defended America, defended our common Judeo-Christian civilization. Charlie loved Israel. He loved the Jewish people. He told me so in a letter that he sent me just a few months ago. One of my greatest joys as a Christian, he said, is advocating for Israel and forming alliances with Jews to protect Judeo-Christian civilization. He encouraged me to make the case directly to the American people about how vital Israel is to U.S. national security. He told me, the Holy Land is so important to my life, it pains me to see support for Israel slip away. Now, if Charlie disagreed with a policy of mine or a decision here and there, not only did I not mind, I welcomed it. This is the essence of Charlie. This is the essence of a free country. It's exactly what Charlie stood for. And I knew that his suggestions always came from the heart, from his love for Israel and from his love for the Jewish people. A few weeks before his death, I spoke to Charlie. I invited him to visit Israel again. And sadly, that won't happen. Now some are peddling these disgusting rumors, perhaps out of obsession, perhaps with Qatari funding. What I do know is this: Charlie Kirk was a great man, and a great man deserves honor, not lies. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. May your memory be a blessing.
Yeah. Actually, we had Tucker Carlson coming out and he said he didn't like Netanyahu. And how can you understand the behavior of Netanyahu and his administration? He tries every time he comes out and he says that he loved Israel and all of these sort of rhetorics on his part, but he doesn't talk about himself. Because I think what Charles Kirk was talking about Netanyahu and his administration and these people who are running the show in Israel.
Well, I have to say, I never followed Charlie Kirk very much. He did come to my attention. I listened a little bit, and I rapidly lost interest because I guess I caught him while he was advocating for Israel, and I can't quite get advocating for a genocidal nation, which is committing genocide in front of everybody. But this is obviously a much, much bigger case, and for some reason, it's making Netanyahu very, very nervous. And so he's coming out with all these statements and all these tweets. And before there was even a suspect, he started to say, oh, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. And he tried to frame it as it was the Islamists. He tried to insinuate that it was the Islamists, trying to direct the anger at the wrong target. And in doing all this, Netanyahu is only making the case that he did, in fact, have something to do with it, or the state of Israel, or pro-Israeli groups in the United States, or Israeli intelligence, or all of the above, that they are actually the culprits. And even if they're not culprits, because, there's no conclusive evidence for that, if you were an investigator and you just came out of police academy, it's very obvious that Israel will be at the very top of the list of your suspects to investigate. And then by, by talking more and more and more about it, Benjamin Netanyahu is only making himself look more and more guilty. And in these cases, the truth might come out much later. It might never come out. Like, we still debate who killed JFK and RFK and MLK and so forth. But what's more important than evidence and conclusion of the case is what people actually believe. So it's the court of public opinion that at this stage matters more than any future court case that might determine the guilt of anybody, which probably won't happen. We might even get the patsy. The patsy might be put to death, as we had with so many of these high-profile assassinations, so that the officialdom can always say, "Oh, we solved the case. That guy's gone. He was a very bad person, and now everybody can go home and live happily ever after." But I think that in the court of public opinion, Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel are losing. And, if they had a friend, somebody who could tell them, when you're digging yourself deeper and deeper into a hole, just stop digging. And it's not difficult for anybody to believe that Israel was behind it, because Israel obviously made a reputation for assassinating anybody that that they perceive as a threat to them. And Netanyahu built a reputation for being a compulsive, pathological, consummate liar. And so obviously, if he's saying black, a lot of people out there assume, oh, it's got to be white then.
Yeah. To understand what is happening in the United States with the movement that Charlie Kirk has started, it seems is much bigger in the mind of those people who are closer to Netanyahu. That's why they're doing everything. I don't know if you heard, Ben Shapiro taking over the movement. He's talking about funding it and helping it. And here is what he said on Charlie Kirk show.
Daily Wire, we trust you at TPUSA to do it. I mean, that's really the answer. We're willing to provide, and we are providing, any level of material support, any level of support on the ground, boots on the ground, helping you to do what Charlie would have wanted to be done here. And I think that the reason that everybody trusted Charlie, the reason we're all mourning Charlie, is because nobody did it better. You spelled out two of Charlie's goals. You said, he wanted to bring people back to Christ and bring people back to church and back to biblical values. And he wanted to keep the MAGA coalition together.
And expand it.
And the question is how you do that. And the answer is you focus on the first, and the second is a byproduct. Okay, the answer is that, as Matt says, you have to unite around something. And yeah, we can unite in the short term around the fact that there are a bunch of people who hate our guts and want to murder us.
The key point is the bunch of people are hating us and want to murder us. And I think he's pushing for the rhetoric of Netanyahu. Netanyahu says these people all want to kill us. They're taking over the movement. Who's there? I don't see anybody. I don't see Candace Owens there. I don't see Tucker Carlson there. But these people are taking over the movement that Charlie Kirk has started, and they think that they would empower their sort of ideology through that movement.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to work because, Ben Shapiro might think highly of himself, and he clearly enjoys hearing himself talk. And he does have a certain talent, he's very eloquent. But whatever comes out of his mouth is very unconvincing. He thinks he's very convincing, but obviously he's no Charlie Kirk. And I think that this would be, let me see, if you wanted to take AC/DC, the rock band, and you removed Malcolm Young and you put in some other guitarist there, it's not the same thing anymore. You can call it AC/DC, but I guarantee you that everybody would lose interest. It's not, that's not the same thing. And so, they want to preserve the movement as it was intended, but I doubt that it will be it will work. But then also notice something very important in what Ben Shapiro said, that he's actually describing the battle that they just lost. Because he's saying, oh, we have to, we have to preserve and keep this movement together, and then, the other thing is the byproduct. Well, you just lost that movement. So that also explains their sudden, jumping on the moral high grounds and pretending that they all loved Charlie Kirk in order to make themselves the new and improved authorities with the new and improved charisma to take this same movement and lead it in the direction that they want.